Welcome back to Podcast 1313. I'm Dave, and I'm here with the clone of Palpatine, Spark.
Howdy.
So, Dark Empire Volume 1 is a unique piece of the Legends material, you'd say, Spark?
Yeah, I'm going to have a disclaimer here for the entire thing that Dark Empire, it is a big chunk of the EU. Like, there's a lot to take out of it. But as a story, it is weird as shit.
Weird doesn't even begin to describe it. Who wrote this? Tom Veitch, however you say his name?
Yeah,
that dude,
like that.
I don't know what he was on when he was writing this, but he thought vampire-looking Luke and fucking Force wormholes were pretty cool to add in Star Wars, so he just went ahead and did it.
Yeah, the art for this, like we were talking about this in the other podcast, it is really like this really trippy, like dark-esque like art. It's like the shades of like, it's like greens and yellows and like black and stuff like that. It's really weird. It's like Palpatine in certain light, he looks like a fucking Dracula type shit. Like he's gonna like suck the blood out of somebody.
It's like if you took the colors from a lava lamp and just splashed it all over the pages.
Yeah, like the art, it is trippy as shit, but like I guess an argument here, it is unique in a way, but it's like, yeah, it really is trippy. Like you showed me some things earlier. Luke looks like a vampire, so.
Yeah, well, the basic setup of Dark Empire, this first volume at least, is that Palpatine is back and he's leading this whole new faction of Imperials from the deep core to try and strike back and take over what he lost. Boy, doesn't this sound familiar a little bit, Spark?
It kind of does.
It's weird. Must be a Force vision we've had. That's another thing, actually, the contrivances of the Force in this volume. But we'll get into that later. Dark Empire.
We might have to take a little break here. My house just shook, and I think a tree hit it. So would you excuse me for a
minute? Got a Force storm over there.
Yeah, Palpatine has decided to interrupt the podcast a moment, so we'll be right back.
Okay, so how did the Force storm out there go, Spark? Did you get sucked up?
No, I was firmly on the ground, so no Force storm came. Let's talk about the Force storm for a moment. This Force storm could have been like.
Well, let me at least set up the first scene so the listeners know what the fuck we're talking about, because it opens with the Alliance being just two shitty Nebulon Bs in the Millennium Falcon with all the main characters except for Luke and Lando heading towards Coruscant, which has, I guess, fallen back towards the Imperials and is now being fought over by several Imperial factions. But if you consider this with the greater context of the EU, like, Thrawn Trilogy was like a year ago when they had control, so if you're trying to fit it in the same timeline, you've already fucked up there with them having lost it in a year. But it opens with that, and the conceit is that Luke and Lando had a captured Star Destroyer, and it crashed on Coruscant when they were heading there for some reason. And so their rescue force literally just composes of the Falcon and two Nebulons. Meanwhile, there's like hundreds of fucking Imperial ships around the area, debris, fucking full-on planetary warfare on the ground between Imperial factions, and they're just going to show up in the middle of all this and rescue Luke and Lando. The Falcon lands down here. We see the full spectrum of the ground warfare with AT-ATs and stormtroopers fighting. There's also kind of a third neutral faction involved with this. There's like scavengers, which they kind of look, they're like fucking Fallout NPCs, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all things considering, Coruscant's going straight to hell, so I guess you have like these guys trying to like pick apart the debris from the battle to make a quick buck.
Trying to rip off pieces of the Falcon during the chaos. But they
Yes,
find
yes.
they find Wedge, and he tells them, "Oh, Luke was investigating a dark presence on Coruscant here," and he appears before them. Luke is wearing he's got his new dark side drip. He's got this new black robe that says Supreme on the back of it, and he's telling Leia, "Oh, don't follow me. I'm doing something very cryptic, and I can't elaborate." An AT-AT comes over, it fires a bolt at him, and he deflects it with his fucking lightsaber.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how that works, but okay. And then in the next moment, Palpatine sends out they call it a hyperspace wormhole, but it's basically a force storm, which appears and sucks up everything in the vicinity, including Luke, who willingly enters it and tells Leia to not follow him. And Leia and the rest of the group fuck off out of there. Now, tell me about this force storm, Spark.
All right, now this force storm in perspective is extremely like powerful in terms of force powers, right? Like you have to be like a really powerful force user to even conjure up a force storm, right? So if Palpatine knew how to conjure up these force storms, right? Why hasn't he used it like to kind of turn the tides of battles and why even send out an Imperial fleet? We can just send out a force storm, right, and kill the Rebel Alliance before they even did any damage to the Empire. It's like why use it now of all times?
Like, why have a giant secret fleet in the deep core and not use it until now?
That's also true. Like, I mean, granted, I can understand you have to like build your forces up, and we're probably going to get into why, but it's like I don't know. It's there's a lot of more questions here than answers when it comes to like the overall what's happening within the Star Wars setting right now, because Thrawn just did his thing, and I think it was Han who said something like, "Oh yeah, Thrawn almost took us out, depleted our forces," but it's like, well, yeah, and like now they're off Coruscant, as you said, and now you got force storms and big fleets, and it's like
Yeah.
where was all this stuff when Thrawn was back? Because if Thrawn had all his fleet, it would have been over.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. And Thrawn trilogy was like happening around the same time as Dark Empire, so the writer would have been aware of what that was establishing, but they were kind of in their own little pissing contest. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call.
Yeah.
Okay, it's spam.
Right. Oh, okay.
You're kind of lagging up a bit.
All right, but yeah, let me continue. Yeah, of course. That's part and parcel.
As soon as I pointed out, though, it mellows out.
Does it sound good now?
It's going in and out.
Jesus.
Maybe it's another force storm.
No, maybe. But remember, Thrawn's fleet was barely a fleet, and he literally had to like hunt down the Katana fleet to even the numbers against the New Republic.
Yeah.
And now the Empire has all these like rape mouthed here, like SSDs and dreadnoughts and everything else. It's like, I think Thrawn could have used those ships. Like, why didn't they come to his aid?
Fuck them. Just fuck them, I guess.
He just has a handful of, destroyers and some old ass dreadnoughts, but fuck Thrawn, I guess.
Yeah. So after Leia and the group escape off of the war-torn Coruscant, they go to a new rebel base here called Dasucha, and it has these kind of like weird red towers like made out of rock that they have to navigate in the Falcon, and they also have these flying animals called Ixals that guide them to Pinnacle Base, where Mon Mothma and the rest of the rebels are. So Mon Mothma calls together this council of leaders to figure out what their next move is, because Palpatine has unleashed these things called World Devastators, which are destroying Mon Cala. They're sucking up the raw materials and metals and forming ships and other Imperial ordnance out of it on the spot, basically like moving factories. And so Lando and Wedge volunteer to go and lead a task force there. Han is too busy training new pilots, so he's staying on Dasucha. Leia expresses regret to Han for letting Luke get swallowed up by the hyperspace hole.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Luke in a special Jedi holding ship being brought to the deep core to the planet of Abyss, which is steeped in the dark side.
Ooh. You also for let's mention to the people listening that we actually did like two different type of Dark Empire. I listened to the audio. So we both read this before like a while ago, but we decided that's something different. Like I did the audio and you just read the comic again, right? Just
Yes.
to revamp. So it's like we had like different experiences. Like the audio version of this, in my opinion, is better because they actually have the guy who played Lando voiced Lando, so you actually got that, and like the voices are pretty cool. And you got the sound effects and stuff. It was pretty neat. But anyway, to go back on the topic here, they Luke does remind like on this like Jedi ship, they put him in a special Jedi cage. Remember that kind of like
Mm-hmm.
messes with the force as they're transporting him.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It's a little trippy. Like you forgot this entire thing is like really trippy in it. But then you get introduced to the Sovereign Protectors, which were like these huge giant of like beings that kind of protect like the reborn Emperor, which
Mm-hmm.
he used out the meat.
Mm-hmm. They're tall motherfuckers too.
Yeah, they're like about like 8-9 feet tall. Like they're rather large.
Mm-hmm. So Luke arrives. He makes a little show of force when he's let out of the chastity cage there by the Sovereign Protectors. He he does a little force push on some of them there and shouts, "Oh, I'm here because I want to be. Take me to Palpatine."
Yeah,
Because his plan here is so stupid. His plan
it is.
is, I'm gonna go to the dark side so I can learn the dark side's secrets and destroy Palpatine from within.
I'm gonna learn why my father turned. But it's like, okay, Luke, you knew the dark side was seductive, and it's kind of corrosive in a way, but yet you're gonna go down the dark path with like very little to help redeem your ass. So it's like, okay, like, but let's. Luke didn't know the Emperor was back like fully. Like, obviously, he kind of knew.
He just
Like,
sensed a dark presence, but he suspected, but he didn't know till now.
yeah. So like, he does meet the Emperor. He's like, oh, I saw you get killed, and the Emperor. Oh my God! Like they. Let's discuss the Emperor, shall we? I don't know. Like he doesn't seem like the Emperor like we knew. Like it just this is like
This
to
isn't the
me like
Luke we knew.
yeah, this is like a Saturday morning cartoon villain Emperor. Like
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'm back because of cloning and the dark side. I'm pure energy, and it's like what the
Cloning,
fuck?
dark science.
But yeah, Palpatine is able to like
Basically
so
shift his consciousness into new clone bodies.
yeah, so basically at what like certain times, and he's described it as like because he's like so like really powerful in the dark side, right? And obviously, as I just said, the dark side does like corrode your being or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's so powerful that he can like pretty much transfer his energy right into a new body because his body that he does have corrodes and he's like, "Oh, I'm a being of pure energy. I can enter you, Luke, and I can do this, I can do that." So, like, that's how the Emperor kind of escaped death from like Death Star because he went into energy mode and he went to a new body. Okay,
I will teach you the darkest of the dark side's powers, Luke. Take a piece of gum, chew it, and place it under a table.
place Legos down. Look, step on it.
Don't hold the door open for people.
Make sure you buckshot in public bathrooms.
Don't give courtesy flushes. Oh my
Don't
god.
wipe the handles and piss and shit.
Jesus Christ.
Very gross.
Yeah, he meets Palpy, and this is another weird thing. So when Luke joins Palpatine here, he becomes like one of the supreme commanders of this new reborn emperor and empire, and no one bats an eye at it in the empire.
And like the Emperor is like acting because he's in like the Emperor's in his like an old body now, so he actually calls Luke constantly like son, like my son, come here, and he's like, you're the supreme commander now, you're more powerful than your father, blah 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 blah. And it's like, and like you said, like no one batted an eye that the Emperor was like, okay, Luke, you're just the supreme commander now of our forces. You get to do, command my legions and blah 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 blah. It's like no one said emperor. That's a little stupid. Like, why would you let him become a big dick within the new reborn empire right now? Like, that's
Palpatine, sir, didn't you try this in Return of the Jedi already? Isn't it a little risky?
and he team up with his dad and kind of throw you down a fucking energy shaft. Remember last time, Palpatine? I guess not.
I guess no, he didn't. I guess that part of his dark energy didn't transfer over.
Yeah, you see, I guess he's all powerful, but his IQ didn't transfer.
No,
maybe
he had like 200 points and only like 50 transferred over.
I'm a dumb fuck now, but I'm a powerful dumb fuck.
I'm not smart enough to go to the bathroom on my own. Take me there, apprentice.
Luke whipped it out for me. My bladder wasn't as full as it once was. My aim wasn't as good either.
Use the Force to wipe my ass. I've made a duty. Alright, so after that, it cuts back to Leia on Dasucha, and she recognizes something is wrong in the Force. She knows something's going wrong with her brother. And Lando arrives at Mon Cala. And, okay, did you pick up in this opening scene here, when Lando arrives at Mon Cala, and the little monologue there says he took out a Super Star Destroyer, right? But if you actually look at the art, what they destroyed is literally just a regular Star Destroyer.
Well, the audio, which I'm going to point out, like the audio version kind of cut out a lot of the like this because I was like doing other things by listening to this in the background, like, but sometimes I turn back to it, and they didn't read a lot of the dialogue, which I noticed. Like what you just said wasn't in the audio version at all. So that's another main difference. I guess they try to streamline a lot. Like they cut out a lot of the crap.
They probably cut out just most of the narrator monologue stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of preamble to like the Super Star Destroyer thing. I don't think they could like Super Star Destroyers are supposed to be like this thing in like the Star Wars setting that are like extremely powerful ships. So like them taking it out off screen, like, oh yeah, we just took it out.
No, but like it's not that they took it out off screen. The art depicting it was not a Super Star Destroyer. It was just a regular one.
Well, I guess that was either a typo or whatnot. Because doesn't Lando go there with another Star Destroyer? Because they captured two at Endor. So like they crashed, like I think Luke and whatnot crashed one on Coruscant, and now they have another one over Mon Cala. So they're gonna have to do some shenanigans here.
Which immediately gets shat on because a World Devastator starts sucking up Lando's Star Destroyer.
Yeah, and Lando's like, "Oh, I've lost two Star Destroyers. Looks like I'm not cut out for this.
This comic's getting worse every day.
Worse every page."
So yeah, he needs to abandon ship. It cuts back to Leia. She receives, I guess, a Force vision from Luke, but he like appears as Darth Vader. For a second.
It's so weird. It is so weird. It's like she kind of knows what's going on with Luke, but it's like this trippy shit that keeps happening. Like it's just It's just so weird.
Oh, darn it! I knew I shouldn't have eaten Han's pot brownies.
Tripping out.
Yeah, it's like, why did Luke send her a Force vision appearing as Vader, then show his actual face? And I think all he told her was just, "Don't follow me, Leia. I'm doing something. It's gonna work out.
I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm doing this for the greater good." Blah 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 blah. Luke, no, you just this plan's stupid, Luke. Come on.
He again looks like a fucking vampire in this scene too. Fucking beady, narrow eyes, scowling. Fucking
different shading and
vomit
lighting.
Yellow or green skin.
Yeah, and honestly, it looks like baby diarrhea almost.
Yeah, oh yeah, Palpatine big time looks like baby shit the way he's colored.
Oh my god. They gave him like his teeth are like yellow as corn. Like Jesus. Like Palpatine, I guess, skipped fucking brushing his teeth.
Yeah. You can't be on the dark side if you have proper hygiene.
Well, I guess, and also this proves you can't be in the dark side and be smart and common sense either. So.
No, the rule of two is actually the rule of 2 IQ points.
Yeah, the role too. You know,
Shared
that's why you
between
have to have,
master and apprentice.
yeah, that's why they have to have two together because at least they form one, decent IQ rating. Because they're separate now.
Yeah. She also hears the voice of Palpatine tell her brother is gone, and then Leia collapses, and 3PO finds her. Han is training some of the new pilots here, and this is where we actually get introduced to some cool new fighters. We see the A9 of Vigilance, which is a new Imperial fighter, and the E-Wing, which is this new souped-up heavy fighter with all these weapons and stuff. What do you think of these ships here, Spark?
I mean, they're all right. I mean, I'm not really. I'm more of like a capital ship type of guy, but like the fighters, they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the E-wing, I guess it's souped up to be some sort of. How do they describe it? It's a new fight. No, yeah, it was an interceptor. Was the other one,
Mm-hmm.
which is. I mean, they look neat. I like the E-wing better though, the way it looked.
Yeah, it's a simple
Rather than an
design, but
interceptor.
it's a very cool one.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of the dreadnoughts from the Katana fleet too. It's a simple design, but it's just neat.
I like Star Destroyers, like the ISD ones and twos. I also like the Super Star Destroyers. I like those type of ships.
Yeah, this they also introduced new capital ships in this
Yes,
volume too. We see the Bellator class in the background at one point from the Imperial
yeah,
side.
they're pretty neat. I
Uh,
mean, they are pretty neat.
we see the Imperial Modular Task Force Cruiser, whatever the hell it's called. It's the one that has like a plate in its center.
Yeah, that ship was mainly for Empire War. What in the video game Empire War? It's supposed to like help refill or like recoup ship losses and patch up ships and whatnot. It's kind of like a supply ship that normally like how like task force carriers nowadays
Mm-hmm.
have like a supply ship with them. That's pretty much what that does.
Yeah, it's some cool foundational stuff here. They ripped it for a lot of mods for Empire War, so I appreciate that at least.
Yeah, but
Mm,
let's get back into the crux of the.
yeah, we're being too positive on
Uh,
it. So Han gets informed by Mon Mothma that Leia collapsed. He goes to her in the little infirmary, and Leia basically says, "All right, we're gonna go find Luke somehow. We're gonna let the Force guide us, and we're gonna save him." So their first stop is going to Nal Hutta, where they're gonna just follow Leia's Force feeling until they just get a good lead. And now, when Han is heading in, they're already getting chased by bounty hunters going after Leia, and I guess it's just basically all of them since they're all rebels, but mainly Leia since she killed Jabba and she has a bounty on her head from the other Hutts. Han hits up his buddy Mako, who is I guess is just manning the what's the word, the control tower there
yeah,
on the planet to basically lower the shields, but he says, "Oh, the shields have been dead for years, so we'll just fly on in." And when they get into the actual planet, Han is looking for his buddy Shug Ninx, who is a Corellian smuggler like him, who they go way back with, I guess. So they lose the bounty hunters, they get blown up by Shug's turrets and the Falcon. Han meets with Shug, and he's basically asking him if he can help him get into the deep core. Han runs into Sala again here, who is ex-girlfriend. You know, Han has a pretty high body count at this point, doesn't he? We read the 3 Han Solo adventure books. That's like 3 women each. Then he has Sala here. He gets around.
yeah, he's kind of a man whore, but then again, he is a smuggler. So I mean, it's like a sailor. You go port to port. God knows how many they slept with, especially
Mm-hmm.
if you're like a Chad. So you just, I mean, that's the part and parcel of the course, my friend.
Any port in a storm, right, Chewie?
Fucking Chewie and him tag team, just like the just like the college girls.
They share everything together.
Every
Even Leia.
oh,
God damn it. So, Shug reveals he has this ship called the Starlight Intruder, and they're all hauling freight for the Imperials in the deep core, and they can sneak in using the ship. and they basically agree to go along with that to try and get in there. Now, there's they need some specific parts for the Starlight Intruder, and Han just has like I guess a little place here, an apartment that he can go to where he has some parts. And when they're heading out to go to it, they run into Vima Dabota, I believe her name was, who is a Jedi. That was, I guess she went in hiding after Order 66 on here and just became a crazy hobo.
Yeah. And
And
then she meets Leia. It's
yeah,
like, oh yeah, yeah.
she creeps on Leia and is like, "Hey, take this little box."
What's in the box? It could be anything.
I don't know. Could be, maybe goddamn rat tails or something. Rotten
Could
teeth
be.
that's falling out of her jaw.
Could be a lot of, ex Jedi gave her something in her box. It could be anything.
Yes, it vibrates too. So Leia takes the gift from that creepy old woman. They head over to Han's apartment, and Boba Fett and Dengar and other bounty hunters arrive. And if you're expecting Boba Fett to do anything cool in this comic, he doesn't.
He does not.
He's a
No.
complete jobber.
No, he doesn't do anything cool. All he did was pretty much, I get you solo, and that was pretty much
like,
it.
you could remove him from the comic and there'd be no change.
I don't even know why he's even in the comic. Like, why even put him in there?
You could remove Vima Dabota from the comic and there'd be no change.
You can remove most of the characters from this comic and there won't be no change. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I mean, the only like plot that really matters is what's happening in Biss and Mon Cala. That's pretty much it in this. Everything else is just literally like pointless.
Yes. So they have a little chase there. They get away and they get up onto the Starlight Intruder, escaping with their lives. And Leia opens up the box and she finds out it's a lightsaber that Vima has given her. And for some reason, fucking Force Awakens style, she gets a Force vision from holding this lightsaber. And she sees premonitions of Lando being attacked on Mon Cala, and she sees Luke commanding the Imperial forces. There's actually some pretty cool art in this scene here, where Luke is like silhouetted against the planets and the galaxy in the background as the Imperial ships are like flying out to battle beneath him. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, like I said, there's some art in this actually. It does look cool. Like, it is trip. It reminds me like the '70s in a way, like the trippy ass art. But yeah, that art is pretty neat.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about though when it comes to like the Force just being a plot contrivance, because they really had no way to find Luke in the deep core there, and no plan to get there, but they just followed Leia's Force whims. They happened to run into Shug Ninx, and she happened to run into Vima, who happened to give her lightsaber that would give her a vision for some reason.
Yes, yeah. So it's just like the Force is, like you said.
Yes, excellent writing.
Knew the plot.
Let's keep going here. The Force vision, we already talked about that. So it cuts back to Mon Cala, and we see the World Devastators fucking shit up. They have Did you notice how weird the Mon Cala citizens looked in this comic?
Everything looks weird in this comic.
No,
but yes, they look like crab people, I think.
Yeah, they don't have their bulky frame anymore. They're like crabbish, sort of.
Yeah, they look like crabs. Crab people.
I kind of like mistook them a couple times for like regular rebels wearing helmets because their heads were like so different and angular. Yeah, they're bulbous, but not like Akbar. They're like, oh, that's just must be a rebel trooper. I'm like, wait a minute, what are those two things on the side? Oh, those are their big ass eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
Well, they're just background, little characters. Like the detail is not on them. It's the World Devastators art was pretty neat looking, I guess.
These things were in video games too, weren't they?
Yeah, they're in the first Rogue Squadron for the N64. I remember destroying those. They're like the last mission though, but yeah.
Still pretty cool. They put them in the video games though.
Yeah, like I said, like say what you want about Dark Empire, but you can take a lot out of it. Just the story and some of the plot is kind of utterly stupid.
Just don't take anything about the narrative because it's already shit the moment you bring back Palpatine.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
instead of bringing him back in like a way which would have been cool, is just he could just turn the magical energy now and go from
I don't
body to
think
body.
there's a good way to bring him back, really.
I
TBH.
mean, to be fair, I guess they needed to bring someone back, but they should have just made like, to be honest with you, they should have just made kind of like a new bad guy, sort of Palpatine. Palpatine should have been like dead and gone when he got thrown down that shaft. He just done. Then like instead of Dark Empire, instead of having some like really cringy, you know, like logic, which we're getting into, you could just maybe just say it's maybe Palpatine's one of his Dark Jedi, or something like that, trying to rebuild the Empire, that sort of thing. But we got
No.
what we got here.
The only way it could be worse if they brought back Vader as a villain.
That wouldn't work though. Like
Exactly.
Vader redeemed himself. Yeah, that's stupid.
Fucking exactly. Basically, the only thing of substance that happens on Mon Cala here is that the E-Wings discover a weak point on the World Devastators, which Lando takes notice of, but it won't really matter later on because R2, Deus Ex Machina his way to victory later on, but we're going to keep on moving. So in the deep core, we have Leia and the rest of the group there, Shug, Ninx, Han, and all of them. They arrive hidden on the Starlight Intruder, but Boba Fett has tailed them there as well. And as they're heading in to Biss, it has like a little shield generator on the planet that blocks out unauthorized ships. And so when Boba Fett tries to tail them into there, he gets knocked off of it, and his ship basically gets fucked up. And he's kind of going into a death spiral. And that's pretty much the last we see of Boba Fett in the comic.
Oh, well.
Don't they bring him back again in fucking Volume 2?
I don't know. Like, the only thing I remember about this comic is the Palpatine. I always literally didn't act like Palpatine.
Yeah, your audio's kind of fucking up for me for a moment there. It sounded like you're in a bathroom.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that.
I don't know why either.
I will mellow out. Anyway. Okay. They snuck into Biss now, and they land the Falcon inside the tower where Luke and the Emperor are. They get accosted by the guards. Luke appears, and of course he looks like a fucking vampire. Looks nothing like Luke, acting nothing like Luke. The Emperor also appears and taunts Leia, and Leia is adamant on leaving with her brother and saving him. She slices the hand off of one of the guards here, and Palpatine, with a flick of his wrist, just destroys. Okay, we were talking about the stupid lightsaber force vision shit leading them here. Yes, so Palpatine destroys Leia's lightsaber with a flick of the wrist immediately. Then he shocks her unconscious. He shocks pregnant Leia unconscious here, and Luke basically takes her away there. Han is pissed off, but he's very much outclassed by Darkseid Luke here. And let's see. I'm just going through this here. Yeah, Han is taken away to detention center. Shug and Sala managed to get a little distraction here with the Falcon because they were still on board when their allies got taken off, so they shoot their way out and just fuck off and escape. And they actually hid inside the ship of a buddy they had here in the deep core, inside of his ship. And as they're talking, they receive a distress signal from Han, who smuggled out some type of comlink, I guess, and got a message out to them saying, hey, pick me up, we got captured. And at the same time that happens, one of the big-ass hunter-killer probe droids we mentioned arrives. Now, I don't know why the writer or the illustrator of Dark Empire felt the need to do this, but they took a regular Imperial probe droid, made it massive enough to suck in freighters, and they decided to put it in here as like an antagonistic droid to try and suck up the Falcon. And it's fucking terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's rather a very large probe droid.
Yeah.
Very large, very scary looking.
With a giant red hanger that sucks in ships like you're going to hell.
Yeah, it's just picture like the regular Pro Droid, like you see in like in the Empire Strikes Back. But imagine that huge as shit, black, and when it opens up the hangar, it's red. So yeah, and it can blast you out of the sky too, because it has like big ass blasters on this
Yeah,
thing
it's
too
got
as well.
blasters that can take out a fucking fighter.
Yeah, this thing is nothing to joke about. This thing is rather it's a rather huge, imposing droid.
Mm-hmm. Imagine if they put that in fucking X-Wing and Rogue Squadron, the video game.
Shit, that could be a boss, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fucking could. Uh, so yeah, after that, it cuts back to Palpatine alone with Leia in his chambers. This is one of your favorite scenes.
Palpatine turns into a geriatric fuck. Pretty much, he's like, "Oh, I'm an old man." Oh, then he's like, "Leia, let me describe to you how I go from body to body." It's
Mm.
like, why are you telling her all this shit?
I could even go into the child in your womb, Leia.
Yeah, he literally says that. He literally like threatens Leia. Oh, no, he said it was a test, but he literally like tries to get in bed, and he's like, "Help an old man to bed, Leia." And she's like, "Yeah, no." He's like, "Okay, I'll do it myself." So he gets in bed. He then shows her the holocron because he has a holocron from like an old Jedi master from like he got a long time ago, and like she's looking at it. They were talking about what this holocron is and yada yada yada. And so he gets in bed. She refuses to help him in the bed, so he gets in bed and he's talking and he's telling her about how he can transfer his energy to like clones and whatnot. Then he looks at her. He was like, "I can even go into your womb, into your unborn child." And she's like, "No, never." So she pretty much flips him off his bed, and it's hilarious. He goes, "Meh."
Just imagine the
Then
scene in Revenge of the Sith where Yoda force pushes Palpatine over the desk. It's like that.
Yeah, but he's a geriatric fucking bed, and so like he breaks his leg, right? And he was like, "Haha, she has the Skywalker anger in her. This was a test." But then he
According to
looks over.
plan.
Yeah, he looks over and he notices the holocron's gone. He's like, "Wait, my holocron, it's gone, gone, it's gone." And
Seize
it's like
her.
Palpatine, you idiot! Like you let her have the holocron, then she pushed you. Then you just literally antagonized her. Of course she's going to run out with it. Like, you didn't think this through, did you? No, you
He's the
didn't.
grand strategist. He had the secret deep core offensive planned all out, you know? And he just
Dude,
does
you know what?
this Scooby Doo
No.
shit.
Dude, no. He wanted fucking Leia to give him a fucking, a fucking a happy ending before he goes to another new body. Come on now.
Wanted to
Old
get
perverted emperor.
a Sith job.
That's it. Talking about going into wombs and shit. It's like, Palpatine, shut up.
Oh my god.
Horny old man.
Fucking dumbass Palpatine. Yes, that's some
Yeah,
great
so
in
this is
character
like,
writing.
yeah, so just picture like a really powerful Sith, because Palpatine is supposed to be like really powerful dark Sith Lord, right? But in this scene, it just makes him seem like a total tard. Like
Mm,
it's so stupid, and it feels like you. I just don't have words to describe how dumb it is.
yep. So Han in the next scene is broken out by Sala and Shug, who reprogrammed from the inside that big ass probe droid. And Leia ran off with Luke, and they were actually together. They were going to go off and try and save Han because Luke reveals, "Oh, I'm just working on the inside. I was having R2 get all the battle plans of Palpatine. We're going to use it against him." So they run off to try and rescue Han, who's already being rescued. So they all meet together, get on the Falcon, and escape as they're being attacked by the defenses here. But it turns out that Luke was using a force projection here, and that he's actually still on Biss, and he has unfinished business. Now, where have we seen a force projection of Luke before? That sounds familiar.
It really does.
Yeah. So then it cuts to Luke in the clone laboratories of Palpatine. Well, let me roll it back. First, he goes to the current clone of Palpatine on his throne, and he destroys that one. Then he goes over to the clone laboratories and starts fucking them up. And
Yeah, you forgot to mention Palpatine. He gets into his energy mode, right? And he's laughing and like, "Which one am I in, Luke?" Then Luke literally has to destroy all these clones. Then, like, the last one, Palpatine hurries up and gets into his young clone. He's like, haha, you're too late, dumbass.
We should also mention he's ass naked, all these clones.
Yes. So the Emperor gets into his young clone. He gets out. He says, haha, you're too late. And he's butt ass naked, like full frontal dark balls flopping in the wind there. And so then Luke kind of pushes him back conveniently where there's a rack of lightsabers where the Emperor fucking held him up with the others. So he gets a lightsaber and they have like a little duel here.
Yeah, they weren't using their real lightsabers though.
Yeah, they're doing, they turn out the lights.
This is also another stupid thing here. Luke just took down Palpatine and several of his clones, but for some reason he loses to like the last one there. Like, really?
Yeah. Okay, supposedly this clone was a lot younger and was able to, defend himself and blah 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 blah.
Okay, whatever. So Luke submits like the cuck he is, and he's gonna go along with Palpatine's plan still. So Han and Leia arrive at Mon Cala, and they're witnessing the Devastators fucking shit up. R2, what does he do? He transmits some type of signal to the world Devastators or some shit.
Yeah, that pretty much paralyzes them in place.
Yep, it takes down their shields and all that. The people in the world Devastators are trying to work on some countermeasures, but it doesn't really amount to much as R2 still manages to program them to ram into each other. They have commandos. They have New Republic commandos storming some of them and fucking them up from the inside. So it's basically a victory on Mon Cala. There's something weird here I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
So Sala, as they're watching this shit happen, she makes some remark about making the Kessel Run in the Millennium Falcon with Lando. Do you remember that part?
No.
I don't know if they cut it out or not, but she mentions making the Kessel Run in the Millennium Falcon with Lando, and I'm like, wasn't Han the one who made the fucking Kessel Run in the Falcon? What the fuck?
Maybe Lando and him made the Kessel Run. Who knows?
Oh, maybe they both made the Kessel Run.
Maybe made the Kessel Run on her. Who knows? Hey, Parsecs!
I beat your score, Han.
Beat your score. You probably could. Lando's a pimp after all.
Didn't I tell you white boys can't compete?
Oh my god.
So after their victory at Mon Cala, they are back on Dasucha and they're analyzing R2's data, and they find out the Emperor has more plans and more waves of ships coming, and that this was just the first stage of his plan. And as they're doing that, the Eclipse arrives at Dasucha, and it demands they send Leia and just Leia up into his ship, the Eclipse, which is a massive, massive Super Star Destroyer. It's like a giant black knife across the backdrop of the planet.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It also has a super laser in it too that is able to like destroy capital ships as they come and blast.
Yes, it does.
It's a pretty neat ship. I like the design. I think it looks pretty neat, to be honest with you.
The aesthetics of it you can always compliment in Dark Empire. It always gets the designs and the aesthetics down. The actual content is fucking stupid.
Yeah, the plot and how the characters are kind of like really, really stupid. Like Palpatine could have been like granted, if you need to bring him back, you should have just made him more like the calculating evil type of guy. But this, like I said, he's just a classic Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Yep. And he's in his new pimped out young body now. Looks straight like fucking Dracula, like he said.
Yeah.
And Leia arrives on board the Eclipse. She's determined, she's resolved to save her brother and put a stop to this. Palpatine has the twins start dueling now to try and turn Leia to the dark side or something. Who cares?
Yeah, then Luke has like this internal battle of trying to fight off the dark side within himself, and then overcomes that. Mm-hmm. The Palpatine is like, well, the audio, that's what I mean, it's better, because he's like, no, curse you, Jedi! I'm like, oh my god. Is this Scooby-Doo?
Yes.
Yes, it is. This is Scooby-Doo Star Wars edition.
Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ. So, Leia puts a stop to the duel. She convinces Luke to help her send, like, what, light side energy at Palpatine?
Yeah, the kind of cut. No, you forgot. Palpatine decides to pull out. I'm going to do a Force Storm
Well,
at the fleet.
we should also mention that they cut off Palpatine's hand too at some point.
Yeah, but then Palpatine got pissed off and did his little Force Storm shit, and is trying to suck up the Rebel fleet. And then they have like, oh yeah, you can't control Palpatine. He's like, I am, powerful, blah blah blah. So like they have to like buddy up and use the light side to kind of cut off Palpatine from the Force Storm, and then the Force Storm goes ape shit, literally, and decide and like kind of like goes after the Eclipse.
Yes, it fucks up all the ships Palpatine brought.
Then let's talk about that panel. Like Palpatine, it looks like he's a vampire getting staked, right? Because it's like red and it looks like it's like evil looking. And his mouth's
Screaming
like
in agony.
like ajar. Because Palpatine's screaming. I guess because he's screaming how he should be screaming about the ship and all the people he got killed. He's an idiot, but there we go.
Screaming about how awful the comic is.
I'd be screaming if the Eclipse got destroyed. You know how probably much like how many people on board crew that shit and like how expensive it is to build that goddamn thing.
Probably as expensive as an entire fleet of Death Star destroyers.
See, that's retarded too, but I think that's more retarded. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. It makes sense for like a big ass super star destroyer to have like kind of like a mini, Death Star beam, right? Because it's the big ship, it's the Emperor's flagship. It can't destroy a planet, but it can destroy ships, right? So okay, but an entire like fleet of star destroyers with many Death Star lasers, it just we're not getting into that, but that's damn dumb. Come on now.
Yep. So they're good vibes. They just cause Palpatine to lose control of the Force Storm, destroys everything. Palpatine's dead, and it just cuts to a nice happy ending back on Sucha. And that was the end of Dark Empire Volume 1.
Very fucking trippy. Like, I'll suggest, again, to the listeners, if you haven't read this, you should read it just for the novelty of it and look at the art. The art is incredibly... There's a lot of it, it's well done, but it's really, really fucking trippy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really the only saving grace you can say. The art and the new ships introduced.
Yeah, the new ships and the vessels and stuff. Like, the plot itself is stupid, but, like, the new ships, the art, and, is the high point here. The plot, I could do without.
And you'll be surprised, too, how many references that Dark Empire gets in, like, future novels. Like, it gets mentioned, at least in the Jedi Academy trilogy, it gets mentioned there. In the NJO, there's some token mentions. I think there's one in the Hand of Thrawn duology. It's like, it's stupid, but you can't really ignore it if you're going to consider it a part of the EU fully.
Yeah, so you're going to have to be like, yeah, I mean, that kind of happened, but, you don't have to agree with some of the plots here. Like, Palpatine could have been better. Luke could have been better, but I guess that's the way they're written, I guess.
And with all that being said, it's still not as bad as The Rise of Skywalker.
No. But that's because, again, people can be like, oh, you're just biased. Well, the Disney sequels are pretty shit. I hate to tell you guys that. So, that's the way the cookie crumbles. If you don't agree with that, then maybe you're listening to the wrong podcast.
I just think it's hilarious that of all the things to rip off from Legend, you're going to go for fucking Dark Empire and do it worse.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a good rip-off of Dark Empire. Like, I'd rather have a Dark Empire movie, right? Like, have the plot verbatim than rather what we got in Rise of Skywalker. So, because at least in like kind of that, it makes a little sense, but not much. But it's still, I guess,
they didn't even bother to give Palpatine a reason for his return in the movie.
Yeah, it was pretty much, that Palpatine that you threw down the Death Star was a clone or some shit. I'm the real one.
Yeah, that they reveal in some book or some shit.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Well, I've got no other closing thoughts for Dark Empire 1. Do you got anything?
Yeah, like I said, read it for the art and for the new ships and just for the novelty of it. The plot's kind of dumb, but that's just our opinion. everything that we disagree with, I do suggest you all go out there and read it for yourself and base your decision off that. But in our opinion, the plot is pretty stupid. But that's just us.
Okay. Volume 2.